Alright, so the first one you're going to see, this is the run with the stock team associated tires with the stock foams. And I'm going to be doing a comparison with the Hoosier tires and blue closed cell foams. Now, it's not the best comparison in the world because there are two variables, one the tire, two the foams. But it will, it will give one an idea on how it works. So here we go. This is another run with the stock associated tires, and this will be the third run with the associated tires. Now, for the first run, that was without a sway bar. The other two runs, that was with a sway bar. I'm going to be comparing the data of the sway bar since it was the faster. Now for the Hoosier with the blue foams. So here is the run. And also notice that I'm running the car. I decided to run it on both sides, but now I'm running it with the very first run, mainly because I wanted to see if there was a different sway bar, no sway bar. There's a huge difference between a sway bar and no sway bar. So really quick, while you're watching these runs, if you run a sway bar in the rear, you'll notice better acceleration, better speed later in the run. You will be more consistent, but you'll notice it mostly in the run once the G-force sort of tapers off a little, and you can notice that on the data. But explaining how sway bars work, that's for another video. Let's jump over to the data. So here, this is the very first run. This is with the stock tires. And here, if you pause, you can see all of the information. It's 1.13 acceleration, which is great. That was at 1 second right here. But then it tapers off, which is normal. Right, you start accelerating and then it drops. Notice the speed, pretty consistent, 42. They all have 42 as the top speed. This is the very first run with the Hoosier and the blue foams. It's a 1.03 Gs. It's faster, so it's by 0.08 faster. So that's 0.08 of a second quicker. But it's interesting if you look at the data. See, there's a if you look at the G-force here, it's very similar to the very first run. But later on, starting here, this is a 0.14, and notice the 42, and then all the 42s that will follow compared to this 41, and then 41.5 all the way through there, and then eventually the other one gets to 42. But this one's all 42s, so it managed to keep the speed. Now, again, all of these times are with the rear sway bar, so there's absolutely no difference except for the wheels and tires that I was using. This is 4 seconds. At the end of the video, I'm actually going to use this 4-second one to do a comparison. My last run was actually the fastest, surprisingly. Now, for the very first run, I used one pack, and then for all the other runs, I used a different pack. Should have used a recharge pack every time. But notice the acceleration here, 1.03. It's consistent. So the difference isn't very much, but it's very, very consistent running. Now, I had consistent runs with the associated tires as well. I always managed at 42 kilometers per hour. This is a 4.01, notice, so speaking about consistency, same thing. Now, if you pause, you can look at the numbers. They're very similar. There are some differences. But in the end, both cars get at the end at the same time. It's just the acceleration, 0.99, 0.43, 0.11 versus the 1.02, 0.46, and 0.14. But if you look at the speeds, very similar, 33.5, 37.5. If you look at the final run, this was the fastest run, 1.06 Gs. Still 42 kilometers, and that was at 1 second. So usually it'll reach max acceleration at around 1 second, and that was 35 kilometers per hour, which was the quickest. 42, it reached at 2.8, which was actually not the fastest. See, there's a dip here, acceleration, and I'm not sure why that was. Unfortunately, GoPro doesn't get the best video at distance, so I can't really study what happened. That's one of the reasons why I'm going to drop that one, and I'm just going to focus on, well, let me focus on this one first. Okay, and here is the time. So this is my fastest time. Now the time intervals are going to be the exact same because those are the intervals that the GPS measures. If you pause, you can actually analyze the acceleration and the speed at any interval. Now the top speed's still 42, but if you look at the acceleration and the speed difference, I should say, it's in the beginning that it's a lot faster. So 8 versus 7, 12 versus 10.5, 20. Well, let's see, 20 versus 17.5, yes. But then here in the middle, it kind of slows down. So we have 39.5 versus the 40. Notice those 41s versus the 40.5. Well, we have a 41.5, so there it speeds up. Now they match. Now this one slows down. But the camera can't really pick it up. 41.5, 42. Unfortunately, the GoPro doesn't really pick up the speed, so I can't analyze, but at least it was consistent 42s, and my fastest time 3.95. Now, really quick, this is sort of, I'm going to be making modifications and testing this car. You can get these cars much faster than this, 2.6 for example, but here 4 seconds, 4.09 I should say, versus 3.95. But I'm going to compare it to a different one, which is that 4-second run that I really like. So if you look at the numbers again, it's faster in the beginning, which is normal. Usually fast cars, the initial acceleration is great, but notice here it slowed down again. So it's that 39 versus the 37.5. But at the beginning, this is where it's much faster. So what ends up happening, even if it slows down, the beginning is so much quicker that it's already gone farther. And if you look at these other numbers, 41.5, so we're at 41.5, but this is 41.5 for a long time, then it hits the 42s. This one over here, interestingly enough, it hits 42 really early on. Well, keep in mind that the vehicle is stock, and little by little I will be making some changes. Such as oil, spring rate, etc. So this was only a comparison with stock suspension. Once you start tuning your vehicle, all of this will change. So maybe one tire will be better than the other. If the ambient temperature changes, that will as well. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope this information was useful or at least entertaining. Please comment below what are your experiences or any questions, suggestions. Also, please subscribe if you have not. I'll catch you in the next one.
What? Oh, my hair! My tongue! My room!